Alright. So this Patreon request comes from Bill McLaughlin, who asked me to do a ranking video. And we're going to be ranking the Primarchs. So, yeah. I'm just going to let everybody know. I'm not, like, there are Primarchs I like, but for the whole, I'm not a big, like, ooh, Primarchs kind of guy. As I've made it very clear that I don't care much for the whole Primarchs returning thing, because that's kind of a cash grab, and now that that genie's out of the bottle, it's kind of just everywhere now. But there are characters I like among them, and I'll get into it. So yeah. But as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link in the description box below. Hit the 3rd tier. That'll allow you access to do so, as well as check out all the other videos on Patreon as well. Anyway, so as with always, this ranking video is going to go from least favorite to favorite, and yeah, I'm going to piss people off. I don't know what to tell you. This is just my personal opinion on the matter. This is just how I view things. So if you think a Primarch should be higher or lower on the list, that's totally fine. I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. This is just, I'm not saying like this is like what I like, this is the word of God, or the word of the God Emperor, I should say. And I already know I'm gonna piss people off. But it's just how I feel personally, honestly. Yeah, so yeah. I just like this video is just like, it's gonna get some interesting back and forths. I just know it. So let's start with the bottom of the list, and that is Conrad Kurs, the Primarch of the Night Lords. Conrad Kurs is by far the most fucking annoying character of the Primarchs. And that's saying something, because the next guy's dead. Conrad is just the ultimate of edge. He is, and to be fair, Big E didn't really help him or anything, but Conrad was such a bastard even before he switched to Chaos. I'm pretty sure even the Night Lords, the rest of the Night Lords were like, we were loyalists? Like, I thought we were Chaos the whole time. That's what I mean, is that Conrad, even like when Lionel encounters like a spirit of his in his book, he basically says like, you were just a bastard the whole way through. Just an angry emo child just in his room blaring, how could this happen to me? You know. So, and to be fair, he did have that whole foresight of like, oh, the Emperor's assassins are going to kill me. But rather than like Sanguinius, who had the same power, and Sanguinius wanted to defy fate, even though fate was like, nah, fuck you. Conrad was just like, well, I guess I'm just going to be a bastard. Fuck him. Although I will say, this is not. I should also mention that even though I'm ranking these Primarchs, it's not how I'd rank the chapters, because honestly, I've read the Night Lords the Night Lords trilogy. It's actually kind of a banger. So, yeah, the Night Lords are the Night Lords are cool, even though they are incredibly edgelord. But the characters are way more. His sons are way more interesting than they are. So Conrad has never appealed to me as a character. Next up, Ferris Manis. You may be thinking, well, why is Ferris above Conrad? Ferris got his head cut off, and he keeps dying, and he keeps getting cloned and his head cut off. One, Ferris is a little more interesting as a character. Also, it was the reason why I kind of rank him a little higher. I was thinking of putting Ferris at the bottom, not because like he's a bad character, but because there's literally fuck all with him. The reason why I put him a little higher than Conrad was because fuck Conrad. But the main reason why I put him a little higher was, even though, yes, he is low because there isn't really a lot to him, I do like his friendship with Fulgram. I really thought his friendship with Fulgram was really kind of sweet and endearing, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see Fulgram turn on him like that. Even Fulgram regrets that to this day. So, yeah, Ferris. Alright, here's where someone's going to throw hands. The next one on the list, Rogul Dorne. Yep, Rogul Dorne. This guy is boring as a goddamn brick. Like, Rogul held the line and all that, but as a character, He held the line at and for the battle for Terra, he did battle with Fulgram, he did battle with all the other traitor Primarchs. He was the backbone of the defense of Terra. Here's the thing, though. Rogul's as interesting as dirt. He is humorless, he has no real personality, and he's just also an unnecessary asshole to even his loyalist brothers. Now, I do hope if and when, I should rather say when, because God knows they will, Games Workshop brings Rogul Dorne back, they'll update his character like they did with Lionel, and we'll get to him later. But I hope with Like Lion, they give Rogul a chance to be more introspective and be like, man, I was a real prick, if and when Rogul Dorne comes back. So, that's why, I really hope they give him more of a character. Also, I imagine, since he lost his hand, I imagine they're going to give him, the Emperor's Claw, Emperor's Talons, like how they gave the Emperor's Shield to, Lion, and the sword to his sword to Gillman. So, but yeah, Rogul, he is bland, he is uninteresting, and the only time I really had any fun with him was during his fight with Fulgram during the Battle for Terra. Anyway, next up, Alarius. I am not Alarius, and this is not a lie. Alarius is another character I have... Alarius is just unnecessarily confusing. That's my biggest thing with Alarius, is that... what about Omegon? It's the same fucking thing. It's the same goddamn thing. Alarius and Omegon... I'll just call it Alarius. Alarius is, he's overtly complex. He's unnecessarily, a master of secrets for everything, and it's gotten to the point where even his sons think he's a myth. The Alpha Legion, which again, this is not I'm not saying since the Conrad Kurs is at the bottom, the Night Lords are at the bottom. If I was doing rankings of Space Marines, this would be a much different list. And the Alpha Legion, the Alpha Legion would go somewhere a little different. But where Alarius is just so, he's unnecessarily complicated. He's also uninteresting. His sons are more interesting. And also, I recommend, if you can find it, the Renegade's Harrow Master novel. It's actually kind of a low-key banger. If you could also find Sons of the Hydra, too, but good luck with that one. Anyway... But the Alpha Legion themselves are more interesting than he is, and also, I love the fact that, even the Alpha Legion are we don't follow him anymore. Why do we follow him? We've never seen him before. And, yeah, when you become a meme in your own chapter, your own Space Marine Legion, then, my brother, it is time to hang it up. Yeah. Alright. Next up, Perabo. Perabo has the same thing... Well, Perabo is more of an incel asshole than anything else. Another guy who I don't care much for. Because yes, the Emperor didn't give him his accolades or what have you, and he was basically carrying the Horus heresy on his back most of the time. But Perabo, a lot of the things that happened were his fault, and instead of, acknowledging it, he took it out on everyone else. Killing his adopted sister, doing all that stuff to Olympia. It was a lot. And a lot of it wasn't good. In fact, none of it was good. Perabo also is just a boring character. Imagine trying to carry a conversation with Perabo. Hey, Perabo, how are you today? Not good. Oh, that sucks. You want to talk about it? Not really. And that's your conversation right there with Perabo. And also, the whole thing of him becoming a demon Primarch makes no fucking sense, because the whole point of the Iron Warriors was that, yeah, they just joined Chaos because fuck the Emperor. Yeah. Perabo is just not fun to me. The reason why he's just a little bit higher is because he carried the Horus heresy, and I do think his demon, even though it makes no goddamn sense, the demon Primarch version he has is actually kind of baller. And I do think he has some nice line. I do like how he played off the other demon Primarchs and Jesus, I am the only adult in the room. Anyway, next up, Magnus. If you want to talk about obnoxious, that obnoxious know-it-all asshole in your life, think of Magnus. Magnus is Magnus is a guy who, I'm sorry, he did everything wrong. The dude just caused basically the biggest fuck up that you could imagine, that kind of really kick-started that also really set the heresy to go to 11. He also was the reason why Prospero burned. All he was doing, like, oh, woe is me, Dad hates me. Hey, pick up your phone, asshole. The Space Wolves are coming to fuck you up. Yeah. Magnus did everything wrong. Magnus is also, like, so unequivocally unaware of how stupid he can be. Also, the whole thing of him falling to chaos because a piece of him is now gone, I found that kind of weak for him turning to chaos. Anyway. But the reason why I think I like Magnus just a bit more is because, one, his Demon Primarch design is cool, and I do like that when he became a Demon Primarch, he became just such a awful villain. Like, he became such an, just a fun villain, I guess you could say. Alright, moving on now to our next one, and from here on out, the next few Primarch, I guess from here on out, I'll just say this, from here on out, the rest of the Primarchs I really do like. These, from Magnus all the way down to, Conrad, are Primarchs I give no fucks about. Here, these are Primarchs I was like, oh, they're pretty cool. Like, I would like to read about them. Yeah. I've got, and if you're also wondering why I keep looking down here, it's because I got the list, because I would forget, like, off the top of my head. Anyway, starting off this list of now likable Primarchs, we're going to start with Corvus Korax. Much like Conrad Kurs, he's an edgelord, but he's he's a little more fun and has a lot more character to him. I also like the thing of him, like, except being merged into this Demon Primarch, but Loyalist Demon Primarch, this big bird to go after Lorgar. I also appreciate that the dude's got a good head on his shoulders and doesn't, like, sit around in his bedroom moping around or skinning people alive. That's also a good one. Korax, again, he's clear. His name is literally Crow Crow. I don't know how else to say it. Anyway, he's a little more fun and interesting than Conrad, and that's what I think sets him apart. Next up, Mortarion. Mortarion, I like Mortarion. Mortarion is a little more interesting to me than you'd think. The dude got robbed of his, getting his revenge by the Emperor. He basically is the reason why the Death Guard is the way it is. And still, he's a fun villain. Like, when he's facing Gillman in the Dark Imperium trilogy, there's a lot of great, banter between the two. And he also makes an impressive villain. I will say, though, that his whole thing of, smelling so bad that he would make, Space Marines vomit in their helmets is kind of just gross. He has the stench that would rival people I have inhaled the smells of, not willingly, at several conventions. Like, seriously, I've known people who have... I'm just going to go into this tangent real quick. I have known people who have gone to conventions and just reek to the point where I go lightheaded. And it's always... And you can always find them, too. Like, you can always point out it's that guy. And he's so... he's either so oblivious that he smells, or he knows he reeks, and he's just like, this is just my manly aura. No, it's not your manly aura. It's you who doesn't know how to have good basic fucking hygiene, and you're making us all want to vomit. Go fucking take a shower, you fucking pig. Sorry, I got too real there. I just... Take a shower! You're in public! Anyway, back to Mortarion. Mortarion, again, design-wise, I think he's really cool. I think it's more of aesthetic why I like him, because he's just this big, hulking plague with, it looks almost like a rotting moth. Also, I love the Death Scythe and all that, and I'm always down for a villain with a good gas mask. He's also got... I also love how he waxes poetically a lot, even though a lot of the shit he did is very self-inflicted. Next up, Leman Russ. Leman Russ is... Leman Russ is an asshole, but he's also like a guy you could see having a beer with, or several hundred. Leman is a absolute like beast when it comes to fighting. He's pretty interesting. I will say though that I do hope if and when Leman Russ returns, which again, if those rumors are true that Leman is the next Primarch to return after Fulgram, I really do hope they give him again. See, the Primarchs, and this has been a running thing, is that a lot of the loyalist Primarchs outside of Gillman and like Jagatai and Vulcan and a few others aren't really that interesting and are more blinded by their own ambitions and their own personalities. It's the same thing of like Lion was just an asshole and no one liked, and then when they did Son of the Forest, Lion was given a little more personality. I'll talk about it later, but that's the thing, is that like a lot of these Primarchs are very uninteresting and just kind of wooden characters, and that was my thing with Leman too. Is that Leman felt like a really, like he felt pretty wooden and hollow. I hope when he comes back that he's like more weathered and more like, you know, a better understanding of the world. Now, if he comes back as a giant demon wolf, or if he comes back as like because I know a lot of people are like, he's either going to come back, and I'm in this boat too, is that he's either going to come back as a big wolf, or like Odin, looking like Odin the Allfather, like Allfather Russ. I kind of am going for the wolf one because, again, I want to see more of like I think it would be kind of cool to see the like the same thing with Korax happen to him, but maybe it's just kind of made him into a giant wolf, like Fenris the wolf from Norse mythology. And again, he's supposed to come back during the wolf times. Yeah. Anyway, but Russ, he's like fun to watch. But he's not as fun as the next character on my a little higher on the list, and that is the Khan of Khans, Jagatai Khan. Jagatai is like what Games Workshop wanted Russ to be. Russ, he's just, yeah, I'm fun party dude. But Jagatai is like, yeah, I'm fun party dude, but also I have a good head on my shoulders. Jagatai is a master swordsman. He's also incredibly wise. He's also, again, he's very intelligent. He also knows when to help the people and when to help the Imperium, because there is a difference. Jagatai had a baller moment where, you know, Mortarion, I keep trying to say Mortarion, it's kind of excitable for both, but Mortarion is like spreading plague across the cities, you know, killing innocent civilians, and Jagatai is like, if I go, will I die? And he's talking to Sanguinius like, what will happen if I leave my post? And he's like, and Sanguinius tells him what happens, and he's like, then I'm going. It's not a choice. So that's when Jagatai goes to face Mortarion, and just like a fucking G. Like Jagatai, again, I also love how he burned Fulgram when Fulgram was like, I hear you do strange things to your vehicles. And Fulgram just goes, I hear you do strange things to your warriors. If you're gonna come for the king, you better kill the king. But yeah, Jagatai Khan. Alright, moving on now to our next one, and that is Horus Lupercal. Horus is, again, a cool villain. He's an awesome villain. Of course, the Horus Heresy and all that, and it's... The thing is, I feel like his fall to chaos really gets hurt, because again, you could have easily had it, that he already had, you know, worries and concerns about, you know, the Emperor turning on the Primarchs and the Space Marines once the Great Crusade was done. But the problem is that you just have, Erebus with knife, go stab. Stab with evil knife, and I'm like, cool, thanks Erebus, fuck him. You could have easily just done that without the evil dagger and just had him go like, no, I'm starting a revolution, and the Chaos Gods are going to be a means to an end. I also do like the moments with Horus when we see him as not a demon, as a corrupted Primarch. I like that he's very level-headed, and you can see why his brothers cared for him. And yeah, Horus was a badass as both hero and villain, and just kind of a fun character to really watch. Anyway, next up is Fulgram. I give Fulgram a lot of shit, and people have called him the Starscream of Warhammer 40k. But guess what my favorite Transformer is? Starscream. And while Fulgram is not Fulgram is a character I've slowly kind of liked more and more because of just how much of a horrendously mustache-twirling villain he is, and just a fucking nut job. Again, I used to be like, ugh, Fulgram. But now I'm like, wait a minute, he's just Starscream. I like Starscream. So Fulgram has gone up in the ranks, and maybe there's a little bit of recency bias because again, Fulgram's coming back, and I'm curious to see how they're going to explain the whole thing with the Eldar sword he has. And I have been reading a lot more Emperor's Children novels, Eidolon, as well as I'm going to be reading the next Renegades novel, which is called Lord of Excess, it sounds great. It's like a story where the Emperor's children fight the Gene Stealer cults for control of this planet. Anyway, but getting back to Fulgram. Fulgram is he's laughably evil. He is so cartoonishly evil, it's not even funny. But I will say that I think Fulgram, when he was a Primarch, was pretty interesting as well. I also really like how he used love to conquer others, because he believed love was the most powerful thing. But I will say the one detriment is because I think the sword, the layer blade, him taking the sword was pretty weak. I thought that was a weak thing to fall to chaos, too. It's like, oh, you just picked up the penis sword. So... yeah. But anyway. But Fulgram's just fun as a villain. Anyway, next up is Lionel Johnson. Lionel Johnson I've kind of mentioned a few times over in this video, several times over, in fact. And Lionel Johnson, the Lion was a bastard, and would have been lower on this list had it not been for Son of the Forest, where we see him, I love when characters, especially, jerk-ass characters, are kind of, introspective and more wow, I was a dick. And it kind of, that's what if you're gonna bring the Primarchs back, you have to do something interesting with them. That's why I'm I really hope the writers understand that, you open that bottle, and you can't put the genie back in with Rabute and Lion coming back. And I hope you do something more interesting with the Lion soon. But Lion, again, you have him he's grown older, he's now grown wiser, and he wants to reunite the Dark Angels. He wants to bring the fallen, the ones who haven't completely fallen to chaos. He wants to bring them back to the fold. He wants to willingly forgive them and end this kind of schism between the Dark Angels. And he wants to find Rabute to, because he's alone. He thought, there's a lot of oh my god, I am the because he didn't know Gillman was still alive. So, Gillman, he could just easily have, him just, you could have easily had, Lion go, oh, I don't like how you're running the Imperium, I'm gonna start a civil war. But no, he's oh my god, I'm not alone. I mean, it's Gillman, and he and I have never really seen eye to eye, but, it's one of my brothers, I'm not alone. So I really can't wait to see that reunion between Lion and Gillman. And again, Lion would have been because he did some horrendous shit to the Imperium itself during the Horus Heresy. So he would have been a lot lower. But again, Son of the Forest really kind of picked things up for me in terms of the character. Anyway, next up, Sanguinius. To the shock of no one, Sanguinius is a really likable Primarch. I know, Sanguinius is, when people do these kind of lists, Sanguinius is, in the top tier. Which makes sense, because Sanguinius, even though, yes, he's going to be killed by Horus, he can't help but be a very likable character. He, loves all of his other brothers, he cares for his sons, the Blood Angels, and he's also a complete badass, while also being I love his speech during the Siege of Terra, where he's like, I don't want to be here. I did a reading of that speech. I want to do a remake of it because I wasn't pleased with that video. But he's like, but getting back on topic, he's just like, I don't want to be here because I know if I survive this, I'm gonna die anyway. So he's like, he has been fighting for like over a month against in the war for Terra, and he's just like, guys, if you want to leave, that's fine. I won't blame you, but I'm gonna stay because this is my duty. And then he proceeds to fight. Then he proceeds to go out like a baller. So, what more can I say about Sanguinius? Anyway, this might be a hot take, but the next Primarch on my list, because now we're in the one, because now from like Lion to our top one are the Primarchs. I'm like, yeah, these guys are awesome. Next one is Lorgar Aurelius. I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, are you fucking serious? Lorgar's one of your favorite Primarchs? For a hot minute, he was my favorite Primarch. Now I know, yes, Lorgar is a complete and horrendous monster. But he didn't start out that way, He was trying to, he and the Word Bearers were trying to spread love through the Imperium. Like, as the Great Crusade went on, he was just like, oh, the Emperor's a god and he loves you, and we're going to stay behind and help build churches and schools and things like that, and we're going to teach you about the Emperor's love and wanting to be part of the the Imperium. And yeah, you can blame the Emperor from this one. Like, this is all on him. Where he was just like, when he first appeared on Lorgar's homeworld, he didn't deny being called a god. And even, like, he let Lorgar parade him as a god for a while, but when he started to be, behind in his, his whole world, universe conquering, he proceeded to throw a shit fit and inevitably have another piece of the Horus heresy fall into place. But Lorgar, his intentions were pure, and I also like how he just had to believe in something, even though that thing was so malevolent. That was his reasoning behind the Chaos God, was because he's like, there has to be more than this. I do love that moment where he just his faith in the God Emperor falls out when he's talking to Magnus after Monarchia. Sorry, I lost the name for a second. Yeah, after the burning of Monarchia, he's just so distraught, and his faith in the Emperor is gone, and he just has to find something else. So Lorgar's one of my favorites. I hope he's one of the next Demon Primarch I would love to see come back. Also, the Wordbearer novels are kind of fun. Anyway, next up, we have... I'm sorry I keep looking back, it's just so I can remember myself. We have Vulcan. There was a time where Vulcan was my favorite Primarch, but things have changed. But he's still in the top 3, which you could probably guess who the next 2 are. You probably wonder where the seeding is. So Vulcan is the kindest Primarch. He is the one who has, he has seen much death and devastation and continues to have, a smile, and he wants to care for others. The Salamanders are awesome. Vulcan is the embodiment of speak softly and carry a big stick. A very big stick with a hammer at the end. I love when he's confronted by Conrad, there's this moment where he's like, this hammer was meant to teleport, but it's also just a hammer. And proceeds to pummel him. So, Vulcan is awesome. He's like the heart and soul of the Imperium, and I do think, Vulcan's gonna come back at some point, because again, you can't undo that genie in the bottle. I just hope they keep the dead Primarchs dead. Keep Conrad dead, keep Sanguinius dead, keep Ferris dead, keep Horus dead. The other ones, you can't really stop from coming back. Anyway, next up is Rabute Gillman. Gillman, the avenging son of the Imperium. What can you not say about Gillman that hasn't been said already? Gillman is the most well-rounded of the Primarchs. dude had a family before he met the Imperium. He knew, you know, yes, he's the tax man, the intergalactic tax man, but he is absolutely just a fun character. He's also, like, he's willing to have fun. He's willing to have, like, conversations with other people, even other species like Eldrad and Yvrain. He's willing to work with the... because he understands, like, yeah, there's Xenos, but, like, we don't have any options, okay? I'm going... He's like... He went from, you know, during the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade, he was like, yeah, I'm Rabute motherfucking Gillman. And now he's like, you know, I'm Rabute motherfucking Gillman. It's almost like now he's gone from... he's still awesome, but now he's become like Kermit the Frog trying to run the Muppet Show. I just said that out loud, and it's the most apt description of Gilliman in the current timeline I have ever thought of. Gilliman's Kermit. He is just going through it, trying to keep this clown show together. Anyway, next up, you probably guessed this already, my favorite Primarch is Angron. Now, why Angron? I did a whole video talking about why I think Angron's the best Primarch, so I'll just go over this quickly. Angron, I think, is the most interesting character outside of Lorgar to fall to chaos. Because Angron was a dude who knew nothing but slavery, and no matter how much he yearned to be free, he could never escape those shackles, and some of them were made by himself. Angron was a slave in the pits of the High Riders on Nuceria. Then he became quintessentially a slave to the God Emperor's will, and then when he thought he was finally free, he found himself shackled to the will of Khorne. So... and some of it is self-inflicted, some of it's not, but still, he is probably one of the most, if not the most, tragic Primarch you could think of, because all he wanted was to be a free man, and he'll never get that. I did a whole video talking further into it, but I just thought I'd reiterate it here. So there you go, guys. That is just my rankings of the Primarchs. But you guys tell me in the comments below, where did the Primarchs rank for you in terms of, like, favorite to least favorite? Like I said, this is just my personal list. If you think a Primarch should be higher or lower on said list, that is totally fine. This is just my personal opinion, and that's just it. I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. And once again, I'd like to thank Bill McLaughlin for this Patreon request, as well as continued patronage. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.